Welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. James Kincaid alongside Chris Davis. And Disney Plus, back at it again. We just woke up from our deep, deep slumber that Loki induced. And now we have the MCU's first foray into the animated universe of things with Marvel's What If. And, I know we've talked about the trailer a couple times, our expectation levels for this series, but now it's here. They released their first episode. What if Peggy Carter took the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers? And yeah, I want to talk about the episode. I had extremely low expectations coming into this, especially.
I bet you did.
Especially on the heels of all the other Disney Plus shows. And I will say, this wasn't as bad as I expected it to be, but I still left myself asking, why bother? Was the other than What If, what was the point of this? And I think we can get into it a little bit, but I will explore that a little bit more. But what did you think? Your overall thoughts on the first episode of What If?
I started watching it last night, and my question was actually, what if I actually go to sleep right now? And I did, and I had to finish it today. So
very short show, Davis.
I know, I was so tired.
For Loki.
It had nothing to do with the show, actually, because I actually rewatched the whole thing today, and I was just exhausted yesterday, but I knew you'd like that. I was actually wondering, because, you were like, hey, make sure to watch this before the show tomorrow, and I was like, no problem. But I was curious what the first episode was going to be, and I had a feeling it was going to be this one from when we watched the trailer, because I didn't look into it. And I was very excited to see your reaction. Because it is a Captain America one, and I am happy to hear that you said that it wasn't that bad, because I don't think it was that bad either. I love the animation was great, the action in it was fantastic. Some of the scenes, the fighting scenes, were just really cool. It's just the one that stood out to me was, jumping the motorbike, lifting it up, and then kicking it into the tower.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's pretty badass. I haven't seen that before. It was like there was, and then a lot of stuff with the shield was done really well. I think my major gripe, if I'm gonna have one, which I do have some, is her what if moment.
Oh, is that she didn't go up to watch from afar?
It was just a decision on, am I gonna stay downstairs or upstairs? That's what it was.
Okay, so but that is the sort of butterfly effect. Right?
But it wasn't like, I don't know. When I think of
I get what you're saying. That yes, it was a very slight decision.
Right.
Yes. I guess so. I want to back you up on a few things. The animation is incredible, and we talked about that in looking at the trailer. That I thought the animation looked amazing, and I agree with that. I think it looks like a very difficult series to keep going using animation like that. I have no context or frame of reference for how expensive animating a show like this is, but just looking at it, how pretty and how detailed and the action they're doing, it strikes me as this is going to be a tough series to keep going with animation like that. But that being said, hopefully I'm wrong, because the animation is sick. They did a very good job. I don't have a problem with necessarily her what if decision. I think my main gripe about this show, and where I think it gets into trouble, where I sort of ask what is the point of all of this, is they don't change enough. Is that the butterfly effect of it doesn't change enough. This felt in a world of infinite possibilities and what if moments that you could have, and you could make all the changes that you want in this sort of Elseworlds deal. They didn't change enough things. It just they tweaked and lifted shot for shot certain scenes from the first Avenger and just sort of palette swapped Peggy in there instead. And that to me was the biggest disappointment about this first episode, was being so bound by what we had already seen in the first Avenger. And that's just not very interesting, because it's just like, it's kind of different, but it's mostly the same. So they lean so heavily into the familiar that I think that the strength of the show, when I was having the most fun, is when they were doing something completely new. Like, I think the best scene of the show, of this episode, is when Steve first shows up as the Hydra Stomper, and it's him and Peggy fighting side by side one another as both sort of superheroes in a way. And that was the coolest part of the series to me. I like that Red Skull was going to be summoning this extra dimensional being until the fact that they dealt with Red Skull in a very stupid way. But like, that idea was cool. Like, the differences, like they should have strayed further away from the movie itself, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. But I'm like, I was very confused on like why that decision would have any repercussions for Red Skull somehow knowing about an interdimensional being that he could bring into. It was very confusing, like why that had an effect on some things. Where I do agree with what you're saying, that it should have changed a lot more, but like, I don't understand. Like, why? How did he know about this interdimensional being just because of that decision, or was there other things that?
I mean, it's all the ripples in the pond.
Right.
You know. So
it was very jarring. I was like, oh, they're actually going with like a very literal Hydra as a champion. Okay, that's happening.
It's just all those ripples in the pond. I appreciate certain aspects of the storytelling here that, like, in spite of that Steve still finds a way to become a superhero in spite of not having the super soldier serum.
I knew you'd like that.
That was very cool to me. I think that even in animated form, the chemistry between Peggy and Cap remains very strong, and I appreciated that aspect of it. There were some heavy-handed stuff that I didn't really need necessarily in that, but again, this episode really thrived the most when it was going off the MCU script, when it was going away from what we had already seen in the movie, because when it stayed so tied to it, it felt more forced when it's just like, oh, we're doing what you saw in the movie, only it's just Peggy now. And it's like, I understand that that's what we're doing. We have Captain Carter, but you can do so much more different stuff with that and allow her to tell her own story as opposed to just swapping her into Caps.
Yeah, I mean, that is the point of these stories, is you have complete artistic freedom to do what you want. So do it. Have fun. Like, it doesn't matter. None of this matters at all. Ever again.
And so,
none of these movies do. It's just fun. Like, just fucking do it.
It should be.
But I will say, I don't think we're gonna get much. I will go on record saying the rest of the series is going to be just like this, and they're just going to go off of the other Marvel movies. They're going to stay to kind of like what happened. They're going to change some things. It was like I think the Black Panther one's going to be like, well, what if Killmonger was Black Panther? And they're probably just going to stick with something like that with a couple changes. And it's just, okay, like, that is so easy. Like, have fun.
And it's ultimately, it's pointless. It's the what if is why bother. And I guess I don't know. It felt like when it ended, it was just like, well, what was the point of all of this? It felt I guess the thing in sticking so close to the movie, it was like, well, what was the point? What did we accomplish here? It didn't feel like a finished concept. It didn't feel like a finished show. When the credits started rolling, I was like, that was it? It's like because you waste so much time retelling a movie that most of us already saw that you didn't say anything yourself. And that's my biggest issue with it.
I think it's almost just like a way to solidify who characters truly are, regardless of
their circumstances.
What they are. Yeah. And so, like, who Peggy Carter was, who Steve was, who Bucky was. And it almost feels like they're doing that. It's like, these are still the same people, regardless of what happens to them. But that's honestly not how it should be. because they're going through different life events, and yes, they should still have some of the traits, but when something like that changes, it's going to affect you. It's going to change you. So how does that change you?
I'd rather it affect the story than the characters. And the issue with this episode is it didn't affect the story enough, other than like, and I think that, look, we're gonna get Marvel Zombies, which is probably gonna be the season finale of this show, and that's gonna be something that we haven't seen adapted before. So I'm excited for that. That Thor party is sort of stupid of an idea, and I at this point I'm more excited for that episode because it doesn't sound like anything that we've already had a movie on. So. I will say that about it, but yeah, man, when they were playing jazz with this, it was actually pretty good. You know, I would have, you do your what if moment, and then however you want to animate it to, you could even show a literal sort of just like butterfly effect sort of hitting us in the face of all the changes and stuff. They could do something really cool like that, and then screw what we've seen on the movie, and you just throw us right back in there. And we're going to learn how things have changed on the fly instead of you giving us the Howling Commandos montage again with just Peggy in the middle. Like, you just throw us in there and we don't know. And all of a sudden Steve shows up in the Iron Man suit. It's just like, yeah, I'm into that. Yeah. But you wasted so much time retelling the movie that they didn't tell any sort of story of their own here, really. And that was disappointment.
That is when I fell asleep, actually, was during that. So
during what?
I guess that's the Howling Commandos stuff. I was like, I've seen this. Like, it's just a female version of it. So okay. So I just felt like it was going to keep doing that. So kind of lost my interest there. But
yeah, and I guess like certain stakes too. It could like there were never really any stakes in this episode as well. Like Captain Carter never really felt super in danger at all, like whatsoever, and so like that's another critique that I have. There's no real stakes, I think, in sort of the what if moments too, how that changes. Maybe certain characters die this time that didn't die before, and things like that. You know, maybe Dum Dum Duggan dies in the prison escape, or what, you know, things like that. Dare. Well, you know what I mean.
Don't maybe you dare take Dum Dum from me.
Maybe instead of a bowler hat, he's got a top hat. I don't know, but something.
You son of a bitch.
I'm just saying. Well, hey, it'd be great. Maybe we'll do that in Mexico. I'm sure that'll play great down there. Captain America and Dum Dum Duggan.
I will say the title came across, you know, the what if, and maybe it was just because I was so tired. Does it make you think
a time machine too?
It did.
Every time, bitch.
I'm like, what if? And you guys know I love that movie. It's you know,
it's so bad.
It's one of my guilty pleasures, and the way the as much shit as you get, it just made me laugh, and I think I was just, you know, tired, hysterical, but I was just giggling, and she's like, "What are you laughing about?"
I was completely rested, and I every time I absolutely think of Time Machine, and even just how big they make it. When he says "what if,"
right?
Like instantly, I see Guy Pearce.
It's like, where's the meme that's gonna come with this? Like, just it's gonna happen, the GIF or whatever. And I'm thinking, you know, Tim Cool or the Cool Brothers can work on this together, and we can make this a Best Damn Nerd Show thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we need to say, what if they got on that and let us use it? So
yeah,
that would be what I would.
Took no credit for it, and, you know, let us have it.
Yeah. What if the Best Damn Nerd Show got the success that Nerdist did? Well, tune in next time, dear viewers.
What if people gave stuff to us for exposure?
Yeah. What if we became influencers? I believe the next episode is what if T'Challa became Star-Lord. So I think that's what we're getting next. So I, like you, I'm a little worried that they're just going to, when they have the ability to, they're just going to stick super close to the movies. I hope that's not the case. We will see though, but not as bad as I thought, but ultimately unfulfilling and unsatisfying. It just felt half finished, felt rushed, and like, just, you know, there should have been maybe these need to be 2-part episodes. You know, and that's the other thing too, because as soon as we're like invested in this new what if scenario, it ended. Yeah. And that's a problem. So it just kind of felt like ultimately, to borrow a line from Swordfish, kind of like masturbation without the payoff. So, you know, there it is. And on that note,
just watch the Halle Berry scene. You don't have to have that problem.
the most gratuitous, pointless nude scene in cinematic history. Didn't need it. It was so stupid. It's like we got her to anyway. Totally unnecessary. But apparently, this is according to an interview in Variety, this could lead to Marvel spinning off more into the animated universe. And I think, in spite of the fact of how things have been going lately, that is an exciting sort of avenue for them to dive more into, because you see in this show the action that you can convey and some of the things you can do in animation are still really unique and really fun that you cannot yet duplicate on film as easy. So I'd be cautiously neutral into them doing more animated stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes along with the lines of what we were saying about The Witcher earlier. It's just, you can do things that just work in animation better. It's smoother and it makes sense, whereas it can be very jarring in a live action scene. So, I'd be up for much more, especially if, any of this ever mattered again and it had consequences.
You're gonna go along with me on this what if journey then, right, Davis?
Oh, I'm not gonna stop watching. Give me content. Give me.
Well, they'll be doling it out. So
yeah. No, I love all that just random stuff, and it's so hard now. Like I just don't care as much. Like it's weird what Loki did now, right? I think this is the first effects I'm feeling of it, and I don't like it.
What do you mean? Explore that.
Fuck you.
Okay, that I'm used to.
Yeah.
Quick, continue on with the other emotions.
It's raised the stakes too much. And by raise the stakes, I mean it just doesn't matter, because there's so many universes now. There's infinite universes now that everything that they put into a story can be undone, and that's what comics are. I understand that it's just the nature of the beast, but I don't think this needed to happen this soon. Like they're not out of content, and now it's just there. You can bring back. But does Disney apologize to ScarJo? Cool. Now we can bring her back. She's in this other universe. She's just going to pop over here to our main timeline, and she's just going to take over. She was only slightly different because this only what if thing happened where she decided to take a shower one morning, and when she didn't. So
you really hated that what if moment from the show.
I really did. It was jarring, man. It was like, that was it? She just decided to stay downstairs?
Well, and fuck? Steve got shot, and lots of different things happened.
No, that makes sense. But I don't know what I wanted, but it was not just a decision to not move.
Okay, well,
what?
I mean, I get it.
I mean, I'm trying to looking at it. I was like, okay, she's trying to be. She doesn't want to be. You don't want to put baby in a corner. I'm gonna stay down here with the boys. I'm a big woman. I don't know. Maybe that was it, and I missed that. But that's not what I got from it. It was just like, nah, I'm gonna just stand right here because that window's gonna distort things. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
it was strange.
Look, I'm all for you not liking what they're spoon feeding you. It sounds like that you think Loki stinks now, which I'm very excited about that.
It was no.
Your words, Davis out of his mouth, is that Loki ruined the MCU, and I for one, I won't go that far. Like you sound like an extremist, but
look. DC and Marvel are doing this right now. DC's going with Flashpoint. Marvel's going
Michael Keaton back in the bat suit. Let's go.
Marvel's going with Kang and the multiverse, and guess what? Both universes now, nothing matters. So it's you're going for fun. You're going for laughs, James. I'm
No,
sorry.
I don't go to laugh. I don't go
now
to
you
laugh.
are, because that's all it's going to be. So.
Well, what if we do this again next week? That is going to do it for this episode of the Best Damn Nerd Show. Have a great week, everyone. And remember, if you're a nerd, always say it loud and say it proud.